And as a primarily Pauper player, we're going to tell you all about how these cards play in Pauper, so I'm pretty excited to see what we got cooking. Basic lands, who really cares, yada yada. Predators, some art, some completed stuff, yada yada. Here we go. Here's the first card, Jingataxia. Let's see, he's got Ward 2, that's pretty good. Casting non-creature spell with mana 3 or greater, draw a card. It's a 5-drop, I don't know if that's too high in the format. Maybe in like a control cell, it's a good ender. And you can pay food to exile or return to the battlefield. You have to have 7 cards in your hand. It only has a sorcery, which kind of sucks for a control cell because you usually want mana up. Be efficient with it, which, yeah. But you can transform it into a saga, that's kind of nifty. Draw cards equals the number of cards in your hand. You have no maximum hand size, as long as you control it, which isn't that long. Turn on non-Phyrexian creatures to your owner's hand. There's not that many Phyrexian commons, so that's pretty bad. Cast any number of spells from your hand without playing the mana cost. So since you kind of want to play in the control shell, it looks like, it seems pretty bad. Because you can't really cast a lot of spells, because a lot of spells are going to be counter spells, and the ones that aren't are creatures, and as you bounce them back to your hand, you just recast them, basically. And it just goes back to being Jingataxia. It's definitely kind of bad. I don't see it being played in the format. It doesn't really fit into any deck, so that's pretty good. It's nothing to pay attention to. Breach of the Multiverse. Each player mills 10 cards for each player, and they choose a player, creature, or planeswalker cards, and there's no planeswalkers in the format, so that part's pretty pointless. Put those cards onto the battlefield under your control. That's kind of cool, so it's kind of like double reanimation, which is pretty neat. And then they become Phyrexian, which the probably doesn't matter too much. It's decent, but for like 7 mana, it's kind of ridiculous. You do get a pretty much a guaranteed hit, but I feel like just playing Exhume with like Faithless Looting is better. You don't get your opponent stuff, but I mean it happens on turn 2 as opposed to turn 7, so you tell me what's better. Heliod, Radiant Dawn, ETBs, use return enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. It's not a god. Maybe in like a Boggles or like Enchantress deck is like kind of like a mid-ground kind of recursion kind of thing. You can transform it and let you cast spells if they had flash, which is actually pretty solid, especially for enchantments. And it's supposed to cast cards 1 less to activate for each card you draw on this turn, which is actually not the worst thing in the world against like something like Fairy. So this guy could see playing maybe sideboard play in white decks because you don't need the blue mana for the Phyrexian mana. Not the worst thing in the world. Moment of Truth, look at top 3 cards of your library, put 1 in the hand, 1 graveyard, 1 bottom of your library. So it's kind of like a weird mix of Expressive Iteration and Impulse. It's instant speed, so it's definitely good. You only get 3 cards instead of 4. Yeah, if graveyard decks, maybe it's fine, because you get something you want into the graveyard, like a spell and like Turbo, Talarian Terror, or even Reanimator. Will it replace other stuff? I'm less certain about, but still not the worst in the world. It seems like a decent enough card. Might see some niche play. More, who cares? Here we go, we got some more creatures. Drenna and Lavina, Flying Vigilance, 3-4 for 4 mana, decent stat lines for the cost. Activated abilities of creatures your opponent controls can't be activated, and it has all abilities of your opponent's creatures, and you can spend any mana to cast it. Kind of bad, honestly. There's not that much activated abilities really going around the format. They're pretty much all like triggered abilities, if they have abilities at all. So kind of bad. I don't think it's going to see much play in the format. Don't expect to see this in Pauper ever. Elegant Mortani's an 18-6, which is pretty good. Nothing else, so just the vanilla. For 6 mana, it's good stat lines if you can cast it. Maybe in Reanimate, if you cast it early, give it haste. That's almost enough to take someone out in one swing, which is pretty solid. Do that, hit him with a bolt, you're good to go. Will it see play? Probably not. I think Ulamog Thruster is always going to be the better reanimation target. I think it's something you probably won't see in the format at all. Thudland Gitrog, it's a 4-4 first strike death touch for 4. It's actually pretty solid stat lines and keywords. Let you play an additional land each your turns. It's pretty solid. Creature and non-basic lands you opponent control into the battlefield tap. The creature part's pretty good. Non-basic land part, there's not too many non-basic lands, and the ones that are non-basic already come in tapped anyway, so that ability may as well be useless. And whenever Thalia Gitrog wants to attack, sack a creature or land, then draw a card. There's not really flooding in Pauper. There's not like a lot of things that generate tokens all the time. Really stuff that recur lands, so I don't think we're going to see this in the format either. Gain lands, they kind of got power crept out of the format with like the Thrive lands and the Gate lands, because they just kind of do what they do but better, let you splash more colors more consistently. It's still decent enough, I guess, not the worst thing to have. Hope's Beacon, it costs 6 mana, it casts your first instant of sorcery, you copy it, and then choose new targets for the copies. Add 2 mana of any color, so it's essentially a 4 mana, which is pretty solid. Exile type 5 cards in your library, cast either an instant of sorcery from them among those exile cards. You can just deal X damage to 2 targets. So it's spot removal, mana ramp for like Storm stuff, exile top 5 cards. Unfortunately, Storm's pretty bad now, there's not really a lot of payoffs. So this card's not really going to see play in the format. Boost of Fun, these are just alternate art treatments. What was the new stuff? This is just like the extra sheet. We know extra sheets don't have columns in them, so we don't even need to bother going over those. Plane Chase, this is for Commander, and Pauper Commander, maybe. Who knows if that will see play there. Here we go, here's some more cards. Go and Satoru. Whenever one or more creatures you control enter the battlefield this turn, do combat damage, make a 5/5 with flying, which is very solid for just 3 mana. And you can play 1 red and 1 mana just to make all your creatures get haste. So that's really good. You hit this down early. It's a tricolor, which is kind of weird, but once it gets going on the field, it's pretty solid. So it's kind of like an answer early, or you're not going to get an answer. It does take a while to set up. It does take at least like 4 turns to do it. But still, overall, pretty solid for the format. I don't know if we'll see play. It might be a little too hard to accomplish, too much effort for the payoff. We can just play mono red and get it done a lot quicker. Catilda and Leah, whenever you cast a human spell, target instant sorcery in your graveyard, gains flashback. Flashback is with mana cost. Not the greatest, because there's not that many humans that like synergize well with instant sorceries. Like Snapcaster Mage is obviously a good card. But at the end of the day, there's not too many things we really want to be flashing back that's an instant sorcery that won't just also playing humans. So overall, I don't expect to see this in the format at all. Slimefoot and Scree, it's Jund, and then when it enters the battlefield, you make a 1/1 sapling token, and then you sacrifice the sapling, return it from the graveyard, and another creature from the graveyard to the battlefield. I like to be on the sorcery. So decent enough. You do need the sapling though to be on the field for it to actually be able to come back. So if the token ever dies, you kind of just have to live with it. It's not going to be reanimated. Kind of a noob trap, I think, for the format. I don't think it's good. It's easy to cast, good effect, good recursion, but you need to rely on too much happening for it to be good, I think. Galta and Mavern, this one seems pretty cool. It's a trample for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana to do green, do white, 3 colorless. Whenever you attack, you can either make a tapped attacking XX green dinosaur token with trample, where X is the greatest power of attacking creatures. X 1/1 vampire tokens with lifelink, where X is the number of other attacking creatures. So it either needs to be like have big dumb creatures or have just a bunch of stuff on the field. I think it's a little too narrow of a design space for Pauper. I don't think it's going to get played. There's not really a lot of high power cards in the format, nor is there really a lot of flooding the battlefield effects, so this is pretty bad for the format. It's not going to see play. Ooh, we got 5 color Omnath, finally, Locus of All. 5, but the black is for X8 mana, that's kind of nifty. If you lose unspent mana, that mana becomes black instead, so that's pretty solid stuff. Beginning of your pre-combat main phase, like a top card of your library, you may reveal that card, has 3 or more color mana symbols in mana cost. If you do, add 3 mana of any combination of colors in it, and put it in your hand, otherwise put it in your hand. So it gets you an extra job, but for 5 different colored pips, technically only 4, because you can play life for the last bit of it. But overall, it's definitely 5 color just does not work in Pauper, especially one that encourages you to play multiple triple pips. Even with the Thrive lands and the Gate lands, it's just too much to ask for, so this will not see play in the format at all. Any more? No. Mouth of Machines, Aftermath, who cares? We can get that in the Aftermath. So overall, I don't think a lot of these cards are going to see play. Most of them are just bad for the format, they won't see play at all. If you're seeing them, I question your opponent's deck building choices. I think, where was it? Thrive lands already exist in the format, so some people still play them. But Moment of Truth, I think, might see some niche play in certain decks that want graveyard. Like again, like the Turbo Talarian Eteria deck could definitely see play in this one. But the rest of it, I think, it's just not going to see play in the format. And that's my review. Thank you for watching.